Yeah, I think our memory is like that. It's like everything's connected.
Started his career, I introduced them on their very first television show.
I think our memory works like that. Everything is linked together. He began his work life. I brought them together on their first TV show. Diana Ross is now 81 years old, and she finally speaks the truth about Michael Jackson. Diana Ross is one of the most important African-American artists in the world. But people have always been very curious about her unusual relationship with Michael Jackson. Many people who worked with both of them say the same thing. Don't ask too many questions about Michael and Diana Ross. There's something between them. Something strange, personal, and deeply secret. Now at 81 years old, Diana Ross has started to share the truth about their relationship. She explains why Michael acted impulsively when he was young, the hidden meanings in his songs, what hurt him the most, and the secret room he built and kept for years. So what really happened between them? And what was the thing that Michael wanted to do no matter what before he died? Michael Jackson first met Diana Ross one evening in 1968 at a Motown party. He was only 9 years old, small and shy, standing close to his older brothers in the Jackson 5. The room was full of people staring at them. Michael didn't talk much. His hands shook as he tried to look confident, but his eyes showed the truth. They were wide and confused, like he was being pulled into a world that wasn't made for kids. Then, in that fancy crowd, a woman walked up to him. Diana Ross wasn't just Motown's biggest star. She was like the queen of a music empire that ruled America. She bent down and softly called him sweetheart. From that moment, everything changed. An invisible connection formed between a boy and a woman who was more than 20 years older than him. She made him feel like he deserved to shine. Diana had everything Michael wanted: the spotlight, freedom, beauty, charm, and the ability to be herself. When Diana looked at Michael, she looked at him like someone who saw what he could become. They started a strange relationship that was hard to define. It wasn't exactly like mother and son, and it wasn't just friendship either. Later, he could only describe it with one sentence: mother, sister, and lover, all in one. In 1971, when The Diana Show was on TV, millions of American viewers saw Michael Jackson standing next to Diana Ross on stage for the first time. But what the audience never saw were the secrets happening behind the scenes. The relationship between Diana Ross and Michael Jackson was one that couldn't be labeled. And Michael, driven by something deeper than just admiration, went on to make sudden, shocking decisions that nobody expected. The tabloid newspapers went crazy with suggestive headlines about a teacher-student love, a devotion that went too far, and even rumors of a forbidden romance between two music legends. For many years, Diana saw everything but stayed quiet. Now at 81, as the spotlight slowly fades, Diana has decided to speak up. She's not doing it to get attention. Instead, she wants people to understand Michael's confusing actions with the respect this icon deserves. In 1978, Hollywood was surprised by the news that Michael Jackson had accepted a role in The Wiz. Many people saw it as a risky choice for his struggling career. But for Michael, that film was simply the only way to be close to Diana Ross. When the film project The Wiz started, director Sidney Lumet and producer Quincy Jones weren't sure Michael Jackson could act. Even the public criticized the news about Michael Jackson being cast. To many people, he was still just the boy from the Jackson 5, not a real actor. However, many sources said that Michael Jackson tried every way he could to join this film. He kept using his connections. Thanks to strong support from Rob Cohen and Berry Gordy, who were close with Diana Ross, Michael was finally given the chance to play the role of the Scarecrow. But one thing is certain: Michael Jackson joined The Wiz not just for the contract. If someone asked why, the answer would likely be because she was there. Diana Ross played Dorothy, the Scarecrow's guide. And Michael became a simple scarecrow who always wanted to learn how to think. This reflected his own self in his 20s, full of innocence and carrying a strong love. On screen, they sang two songs together: Ease On Down the Road and Brand New Day. They sang together as they started their journey out of the field, encouraging each other to get past fear. And in real life, too, they traveled together through the dark parts of being young, inner struggles, and confusion in the glamorous world. The Wiz was later called a movie disaster by the press. But for Michael, success wasn't the most important thing. This was the first time he could sit next to Diana and share a meal without hiding from cameras. He could be himself, not the king of pop or a Motown icon, but just Michael, a shy young man deeply in love. But the most shocking detail didn't stop there. Diana Ross shared a surprising fact. During the filming, Michael invited her to stay overnight at his private apartment several times. But for a 20-year-old Michael Jackson and Diana Ross at the peak of her fame, who had once helped raise him, being that close couldn't be purely work-related. The press at that time had no solid proof, but rumors started spreading in the industry. A few reporters following the Wiz production left unclear notes about nights Diana didn't go back to her private hotel. Some assistants said that Michael always asked before the morning shoot if she had slept well. No one said exactly what happened between them. Diana didn't explain, and Michael changed after the Wiz. He smiled less on stage and was quieter in interviews. But in his eyes, something new could be seen. Peace. The Wiz was a commercial failure. But for Michael, it was a quiet victory. A victory without gold trophies or spotlights, marked instead by quiet nights in a small apartment where they were no longer celebrities, but just two lonely people who found each other. But then the film ended. They each went back to their own worlds. And it would be many years later, in an important moment, that Michael Jackson would do something that shocked everyone. Michael Jackson once removed his mask during an Ebony interview and made a shocking statement to the media. Throughout his career, Michael Jackson always lived behind the walls of fame and the fear of being hurt. But in a rare interview with Ebony, he did something nobody expected. He took off his mask and spoke the truth. It was 1982. Michael was already an international star, but he hadn't yet entered his Thriller era. Ebony magazine sent a reporter to meet him in the studio. Everything was nice at first until the reporter asked about the person he loved most. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet, and then he said a sentence. "It's Diana Ross. I love her." The whole room seemed to stop breathing. Everyone looked at Michael, not with the usual admiration, but with extreme shock. Diana Ross, the woman almost 2 decades older than him, who had guided him from his early Motown days, whom the whole world saw as Michael's mentor. His sister. But then Michael Jackson laughed. "I'm just kidding." The interview later caused a big stir in newspapers. Many people later said it was just a sudden statement, a quick remark from an artist living in a distant fantasy. But if you watch that clip again, you'll see something that can't be faked. It was the look of a man looking at the woman he loves. Diana Ross later shared that Michael once told her he wanted to marry her, that if he had the choice, he wouldn't hesitate. He didn't need public approval or media acceptance. However, that honest confession made Diana feel terrible. She was much older than him. That age difference, combined with pressure from the entertainment industry, made her believe such a relationship was too naive. Though she understood Michael's feelings, Diana knew that harsh reality wouldn't let them have the ending they wanted. At that time, Michael was just over 20, while Diana was past 40. Hollywood would see this as unusual, even something to mock. At that time, Hollywood was already known for its double standards. If an older man dated a younger woman, it was often seen as proof of his appeal. On the other hand, an older woman dating a younger man was often called a cougar or a boy toy hunter. Maybe what made Michael most sad was that people didn't believe him. And even the person he loved didn't believe him. They thought it was just a PR stunt or the fantasy of a boy who refused to grow up. But unreturned love over time can slowly become something almost dangerous and eventually easily thrown away. Perhaps that's why when Diana got married, Michael didn't choose to confront her but acted differently. The Secret Shrine. In 1986, all of Hollywood was shaken by the news that Queen Diana Ross married Arna Ness Jr. When the news came out, the entertainment world was filled with congratulations. However, while the public celebrated, Michael quietly folded the wedding invitation and mysteriously disappeared. He even canceled his plans to attend Diana's wedding, which made the press at the time think there was a conflict between the two. However, in a later interview, Diana Ross herself said that Michael's action came from deep pain. Because Diana was no ordinary woman. In private talks, Michael often repeated the painful phrase, If I were a few years older, she wouldn't have fallen into someone else's hands. He couldn't hide his jealousy of Arne Naess Jr., who had become Diana's husband. Those close to him said that at the time, Michael almost broke down. In his book Moonwalk from 1988, Michael wrote, "When I learned Diana Ross was getting married, I was happy for her, but at the same time, it was hard for me because I always loved Diana and always will love her." He admitted feeling hurt and jealous, though he always wished her well. After that, Michael locked himself in his room and refused all visitors. The door stayed closed, and anyone who knocked only got a headshake from inside. He skipped meals, even refusing his favorite foods. When a persistent friend asked why he hadn't gone to the wedding, Michael simply whispered, "I loved her, and I always will." After that wedding, Michael briefly disappeared from the spotlight. Outsiders called it a vacation, but his friends all knew he was learning to deal with the pain. Even more shocking, the day Michael filed for copyright for the song Dirty Diana was exactly the same day Diana Ross married Arne Naess Jr. Dirty Diana was released in 1988 on the Bad album, and its name and lyrics caused controversy for years to come. Dirty Diana is a powerful rock song about groupie girls who follow famous bands and often try to seduce artists backstage. The lyrics tell of a woman named Diana, seductive, reckless, and captivating, trying to tempt a singer who is already taken. The singer in the song struggles inside between temptation and loyalty. She's saying that she's got your number. She's saying that she's got your game. At first, Michael explained that this was just a song about obsessive fans. But then the timing coincidence was discovered, making that explanation weak. A coincidence, perhaps, but it was too perfect to be random. And then came Remember the Time. No one needed to guess long. Jermaine Jackson, Michael's brother, stated directly, "Michael wrote that song for Diana." In the Remember the Time music video, Michael plays a man trying to please a powerful queen. Although all signs were clear, Michael never publicly admitted that the song was for Diana. He was afraid that the one he loved would turn away, feel pressured, or be hurt by emotions he couldn't control. That was how he protected his heart. He would rather let people guess than face the risk of rejection or misunderstanding from the woman he adored. When Diana Ross heard rumors about Dirty Diana, she was angry and called Michael directly to ask. After he explained, she laughed and said, "So you weren't speaking badly of me? Good." Michael removed Dirty Diana from his set list the night she came to see him perform as a sign of respect. His love for Diana was so deep that he was willing to do anything she wanted. He put her feelings and comfort above everything else, even the fame of a hit song. Though Michael always tried to keep it hidden. At later events like the World Music Awards or when Diana sat on his lap on the VMA stage, close watchers noticed he became shy, more nervous, and awkward when near Diana. His look and movements at these times clearly showed regret, longing, and sadness. But Michael's love for this woman became obsessive. In 1986, a shocking secret about Michael Jackson was revealed. While touring his home, Clay G and others were led to a room next to Michael's bedroom, which they called the Diana Ross Shrine. The room had a curved ceiling and white brick walls like a wine cellar. But instead of wine, every square inch was covered with photos of Diana Ross, from her early years with the Supremes to recent pictures. On shelves, tables, and the floor, hundreds of candles burned 24/7, as Michael said, to honor his friend. And when information about this room leaked through audio recordings of private conversations between Michael and a close friend named Glenda in the early 1990s, the press was shocked. They were horrified and even said he had mental problems. Some major newspapers openly talked about Michael's unhealthy obsession. They pointed out that Diana Ross was still alive, so why have a shrine as if she had died? Phrases like eccentric, creepy, or disordered started appearing often. To the public, this action was hard to understand and disturbing, especially because it went against normal social rules. However, for Michael, that room was not madness, but the physical form of unreturned love. In private conversations, Michael once admitted, "It was unreturned love. Our relationship was only in my head." He created this private space to hold and honor the feelings he could not fully express or get back from Diana. It was a place where he could live with his deepest emotions, a private world where his love for Diana was complete and unjudged. Notably, to this day, there has been no statement from Diana Ross expressing disgust or anger at the rumors about that room. On the contrary, when talking about Michael, Diana once spoke lovingly. "We truly loved each other. He was like one of my children." She also said, "You see, we truly loved each other. He was like a spiritual child." This shows that Diana clearly understood the nature of their relationship, and perhaps she also understood the pain behind Michael's supposedly strange actions, and she felt sympathy for it. And so Michael Jackson passed away among a lot of dry legal terms and countless huge assets. A surprising name appeared and made everyone pause: Diana Ross. Michael clearly stated in his will that if his mother, Katherine Jackson, was unable or unwilling to care for his 3 children, the only person to take on that role would be Diana. Not a sister, not a close friend, not anyone else in the extended Jackson family, but Diana, the woman he once called mother, sister, and lover all in one. This decision was very significant. Imagine when you choose someone to trust with your children's future in the worst case. It's not just a routine legal step. The most important thing is trust. And Michael chose Diana. Outsiders wouldn't understand. They would ask, why would someone as private and suspicious as Michael, who always avoided commitments and was careful in all relationships, trust Diana to that level? But in reality, that trust didn't come from romantic involvement or eternal promises. It came from simple things, like writing someone's name in your will as a way of considering them close family, as a silent way of saying, "I trust you more than anyone else." Michael Jackson passed away, leaving behind countless questions without answers. But in that will, one answer came out clearly: the name Diana Ross, placed in the right position, carrying a meaning that can't be replaced. But love isn't just shown through one person's choice. Michael placed his complete trust in Diana Ross. So what about her? Or was that affection for all those years just a tight thread between care, admiration, and a boundary neither dared to cross? Did Diana love Michael Jackson? Diana, at 81, is now almost completely out of the public eye. But recently, she has started to speak out to release something that has weighed on her heart for nearly 50 years. "Michael loved me in a way that's not easy to name." And she stressed it wasn't a passing thing, not a temporary crush. It was true love. "Mother, sister, and lover," she sighed. "Those weren't empty words. I heard him say that from the very first time, and he never changed." For many years, she never confirmed it. People guessed and made up stories, but she kept enough distance not to hurt Michael and not enough to cross the line. She clearly understood who she was in his eyes. An icon, a figure, a part of that young heart that couldn't be separated. She once saw the eyes of that boy from Detroit. She watched that affection grow and mature with him, from his first songs until he became the man the world called the king. "I knew who I was in his heart, and exactly because I knew that, I didn't dare return it," she said. "Not because I didn't care, but because I understood that love, when mixed with admiration, would become so fragile that even a small mistake could break everything." She continued, "He gave me a kind of love I'm not sure I could handle, and because I knew it was serious, I didn't dare break it." Someone quietly asked, "So did you ever love him?" Diana replied, "I cared for him deeply, cared with everything a person can give another. But to say I loved him the way he loved me, I cannot lie." Perhaps what hurts her most is that this love existed for so long, kept in silence to the point where no one could touch it. Yet even now at 81, she still remembers every detail, every look, every word of Michael, as if there was never any distance, never any years. A love that yearned until death. Michael Jackson passed away, leaving behind countless questions without answers. But in that will, an answer came out clearly, not through words, but through actions. The name Diana Ross, placed in the right position for the right person, carrying a meaning that can't be replaced. Perhaps that's how Michael Jackson wanted to tell the world that no matter how many ups and downs his life had, how much glory or misunderstood darkness, there was a love that yearned in his heart until his last breath, a love that asked for nothing back, needed no outside approval, but was intense enough to overcome all barriers of age, fame, and even death. It was the love of a sincere heart, which found its final peace, knowing that the woman he adored would always be a safe place for the most precious things in his life. Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this story isn't just about Hollywood. It's a story about freedom, courage, and the longing to express oneself.